Hi everybody, my name is Mark. Today we're building a small network with 4 routers connected in a ring, meaning each router is connected to 2 other routers, forming a loop. Before we touch on any configurations, I want to quickly cover the fundamentals, what network actually is, how IP addressing works, and what static routing means. Then we'll build the whole thing together. At its core, network is just a group of devices that can talk to each other. A router's job is to move traffic between different networks, unlike a switch, which just moves traffic within one network. Every router in our setup will have multiple interfaces. Each interface sits on its own separate network. When router 1 wants to send data to router 3, it has to know a path to get there. That's where routing comes in. Every device needs an IP address to communicate. Think of it like a street address. We're using IPv4 addressing in the 10.0.0.0 range, which is a private address space perfect for internal networks like this one. Now, the subnet mask tells us how big the street is and how many addresses are on it. We're using a /30 subnet mask. A /30 gives us 4 exact total addresses, but only 2 usable ones. The first and the last are reserved for the network ID and the broadcast address. That's perfect for a point-to-point link between 2 routers, because that's all we need, one address on each end. So for example, on the link between router 1 and router 2, on router 1 side it's going to be 10.0.0.1, and router 2 side is going to be 10.0.0.2. Both share the same /30 subnet mask, so they can talk directly to each other. Static routing just means we manually tell each router how to reach networks it's not directly connected to. There's no dynamic protocols for figuring it out automatically. We type the routes in ourselves. The basic logic is to reach the destination network, send traffic out this interface to this next hop IP. We'll do that on every router so all 4 routers can reach each other, even ones that are not directly wired to it. Here's our ring. Router 1 to router 2 to router 3 to router 4, then loops back to 1. 4 routers, 4 links, each linked in its own /30 subnet mask. You can see between both router 1 and router 2 is a 10.0.0. Between router 2 and 3, 10.1.0.0. 3 and 4, 10.2.0.0. And 4 and 1, 10.3.0.0. Notice each router has 2 interfaces, one to each neighbor in a ring. Okay, so here's our topography. So we got our 4 routers. I have them labeled out, which each interface, serial ports labeled, easier to see what we're doing so we can just reference each point. These are our 4 networks, all of them /30. So let's start with router 1 and let's get in here. So enter. I hit enable, but I use abbreviation EN. And then we're going to go to config. You can hit tab, it'll spell the rest out for you, but the abbreviation works just fine. So first thing to do is change the name of the router to 1. Oh, I already did, so we can just leave that there. Alright, so we're going to add IP addresses to all these routers. So the first one is going to be, excuse me, make it a little smaller. So we're going to go to, let's start with the right side. So we're going to do interface serial port 0/1/1. And now that we're in that interface, we're going to add the IP, which is going to put the command IP address. I just put add, the abbreviation. It's going to be 10.3.0.1. And instead of putting a /30, we're going to put the subnet mask, which is going to be 255.255.255.252. And enter. And then we're going to EX for exit. Enter again. And then we're going to go into the another interface. So INT abbreviated for interface. And SE. And then that one is going to be 0/1/0. And then we're going to enter IP again. So it's just a lot of repetitive with inputs. So 10.0.0.1, oops, forgot the dot, and then 1, 255.255.255.252. All right, so we can exit out of that one, or end, and on to the next one. Let's go in order to 2. Go to the CLI. All right, so enable, then config, terminal. So we can change the host name on this one. So host name is the command, and then immediately after that we put router 2, and then that changed the name of router 2. So we're going to go into the interface. So int se 0/2/2, enter, and then add the IP 0.2 subnet mask 255.255.255.252, then exit, and then back in to serial port 0/1/0, and then IP add 10.1.0.1 subnet mask 255.255.255.252, enter, and end, and on to the next one. Enable, config, host name, router 3, interface se 0/2/0, 10, oops, no, IP add 10.1.0.2 subnet mask 255.255.255.252, and then exit, and then you can also hit the up arrow to bring back any entered in commands. So we could just do 1/0, and then all we have to do is change this to 2. Let's make sure it's correct. 10.2.0.0. No, sorry, 10.2.0.2. It's easy to miss a number, so we're gonna end, and then we're gonna move on to the last router. Okay, hold on, let me turn this thing on. It's gonna take a while. All right, so it's done booting up, and it asks us if we want to configure. No. Enable, config, host name, router 4. So like before, we're gonna go into the interfaces, SE 0/1/0, and then we're gonna hit enter IP add 10.2.0.1 255.255.255.252, enter, exit. All right, last interface for an IP address, SE 0/2/0, IP add 10.3.0.2 255.255.255.252, All right. So we just entered in all the IP addresses. So, um, all right. So all the IP addresses are entered in, but they're all the interfaces are still down. So let's go in each one and bring all those interfaces up. So we're going to go back to start on router 1, config, interface, SE, 0/1/0, and then enter no shut. Exit, interface, SE, 0/1/1, no shut, end, go to config, interface, SE, O, O, no shut. See, now the green show that those are up now. So on to the next interface, exit. So interface, SE, 0/1/0, no shut. And here. It froze. There we go. Interface, SE, exit. That last one. No shut. Yeah. No shut. All right. So now all the interfaces are up, but we're still not done yet. Now we're going to start to set the routes. So we're going to tell each interface which way to set direct traffic. We're going to start with router 1 again. So we're going to go into the config mode. And then we're going to enter in IP route. And then we're going to tell it. So how it goes is you got to say the next destination. So you could tell her to go this way or that way, or you can give it enter in both directions just for redundancy, but we're just going to enter one direction and just go on this path. So we're going to go, if you want to go to .1, you're going to enter in that IP address. We're going to enter in this IP address, network address, subnet mask, and then the next hop, which would be through this interface, which is router 2, 10.0.0.2. So the 10.1.0.0 subnet mask is 255.255.252, and then space, the next hop is going to be 10.0.0.2. That I must have missed. Yeah, I didn't put enough. Got ahead of myself. I usually do that sometimes. Anyway. And then we're going to press up and get the command. And then exit. one going to? I looked at the wrong one. Sorry. Oh, okay, I see what I did wrong. It's supposed to be a 2. There we go. All right, end. All right, that's the IP table for that one. And we can even bring up to show you the routes and the static routes and the router. We can look up the routing table, and to command for that is show IP route, and this shows your routing table. So the C is connected to, and the L is like logically IP that's on that interface, and the S is the static route that we implemented. So this is a routing table right here. So let's move on to router 2. We're just going to do the same thing all the way around. So configuration, IP route, and then we're telling this one we want to reach the 10.2.0.0 network, which is 255.255.255.252. We have to go through 10.1.0.2. Oops, forget that period. And then just bring up arrow. And we're saying likewise if we wanted to go from this, reach this network. All right. It'd be it would be through this interface, which is the 10.0.0.1. All right, and then we hit end. So router 1 and 2 are done, and then we are going to start on router 3. So once again, config IP route, and we're telling it if you want to reach the 10.0.0.0 network, which is subnet mask 255.255.252, it's going to be through this interface IP address, which is 10.1.0.1. The 10.1.0.1. And then we hit enter. And we just press the up arrow and bring it back. And the same thing goes for this side if you want to reach this network. So the message is all the same, just the network and the IP address for the interface you have to take the next hop to is different. 2, 1. All right, so enter. And those two routes are done. So we'll enter command N and get out of there. That's router 3. 1, 2, and 3 are done. Last one is going to be router 4. Exit out there. So we're going to enter an IP route. And we're saying you're going to reach the 10.0.0 network. 255.255.255.252. You're going to have to go through 10.3.0.1. And the same thing here. You're going to go 2, 2. All right. Easy as cake. All right, so now that we have them all set up with the IP addresses, we set up the routing table on each router. Let's make sure that it actually works. So the best way to do that would be to ping different routers. So we'll start from router 1, and we're going to ping router 3 interface, which is going to be 10.2.0.2. So ping 10.2.0.2. All 5 pings went through. So that's really good. And let's look at it from the other side. So we pinged it this way. Let's see if we could ping it the other way. Should be able to. Well, actually, 10. All right, so same thing with router. Let's ping router 2. Let's go 10.0.3. All right, sorry, I step away for a second. All right, so the pings are successful. Everything needs to be working fine. You can even watch the packets go. They're able to travel around this small network that we created. Ah, that's pretty awesome. Well, there you have it. So that's how you make a small little network using static routing. So I appreciate you guys for watching the video. You guys have a good one. Take it easy.